Hello, welcome, ladies. I'm so excited to be able to sit here through this event with all four of you. Looking forward for the fact that you guys are going to share your stories. I think it's quite an honor to be able to listen to your stories and the fact that you're willing to share. What you've been through is not something all of us luckily get to go through. So we're going to start off by introducing yourselves. If we can start with Stephanie.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Petrie, and I am a tax principal at CLA in Peoria. And I live in Washington, Illinois, and have been there for over 10 years. And my husband's name is Jared, and we have two kids. Jaden is 10, and Stella is 8. And my story is actually about my 8-year-old daughter, Stella. So she has a heart rhythm condition called long QT syndrome. And there isn't anything actually structurally wrong with her heart. It's essentially just takes her heartbeat longer to reset each time than an average person. And we actually discovered her heart condition when she was 5 years old. She was swimming in a local pool, and I was there watching her. It was a really busy Friday afternoon in June. And I looked over at her and I saw her eyes kind of roll into the back of her head, and she started to sink. And I got to her as soon as I could, and I got her out of the water and onto the concrete. And then I started screaming because I obviously didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And it took her a little while to come out of it. But when she did, we were rushed to OSF and learned that she actually had fainted. And honestly, had I not been there, it could have been a lot worse than what it was. But we discovered that it's a hereditary condition, and both her dad and her grandpa also have the same heart condition. And they've experienced similar episodes in the past, but it wasn't ever diagnosed until we discovered Stella's. So that's my story.
Wow. Swimming. That's fun.
Yeah.
Patty.
Hi. My name is Patty Cole. I work at Unity Point Health Proctor Hospital as a dietitian. I had my heart attack on July 21st, and so it's fairly recent. I'm married. I have 2 grown children that both live out of town at this point. And it was a pretty scary situation, but I made it.
How did you know it was happening?
Well, looking back, I can tell that there was some early signs. One time I was out trimming bushes and I got lightheaded. It was one of those earlier July 90 plus days, degrees. And I got kind of diaphoretic, and I went and laid down and drank some more fluid. I thought, well, I'm dehydrated, whatever. I had noticed that I was kind of short of breath.
Right.
More, increasingly, but I kind of attributed it to all the mask wearing. Type of thing, and didn't think too much of it. Actually, the Sunday before, this was on basically a Tuesday morning, my daughter's 31st birthday, actually, when I came into the hospital basically in the middle of the night. But 2 days before that, or a day and a half before that, I was actually doing a cycling class at the athletic club that I remember. And, I felt a little bit more short of breath, but, I was going at it pretty hard on a 45-minute class,
Those are tough classes.
But eventually, and plus mine was kind of compounded by the fact that I have kind of these random pains in my back, upper back, due to scoliosis. That's pretty severe. And I also have pretty significant reflux. So a lot of the pain that I had, like I get some chest pain with my reflux, that type of thing. And actually the night that I had the heart attack, I was on the treadmill for about 20 minutes going pretty hard. I don't run, I just walk fast, but I could kind of sense that I felt more heaviness all the way across the bra line instead of just on the left side where I usually have my reflux symptoms. So I didn't think too much of it because it kind of resolved by the time I walked upstairs and ate dinner and so on and so forth. But it got to the point where I just couldn't get comfortable no matter what I did. This pain, it was more of a pressure type of pain. It wasn't like the, dot drop kind of pain men describe. And then I got real nauseated in the middle of the night. Thought I was going to have to vomit. Couldn't. Then I got real diaphoretic, and I kind of knew I had taken some medicine for reflux, to see if that made any difference, some liquid medicine a couple times. That didn't touch it. And so I told my husband, we're going to the hospital. And so I arrived and, they got me in really fast here at Proctor. And when they did the EKG, it showed an ST elevation. They knew it was LAD. My troponin was through the roof. So they got the emergency heart cath team out here at Proctor. And they had me in the cath lab within, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes tops. The hard part about that is they really couldn't give me, other than local medication where they introduced, the catheters, they couldn't really give me anything for pain. It was pretty rough, but again, on an emergency basis, I know that they just wanted to get in there, find the clot, do something about it.
You look fabulous.
I'm just very thankful that they have this technology and the stent, because my mother actually died at age 77 after complications from a heart attack. They had given her TPA and she ended up with a brain bleed. So it was one of those real weird, freaky things, according to the cardiologist. But I kind of felt like if they'd had the technology that they have today, may have survived that. I have a pretty strong family heart history on my mother's side of the family. So I'm not surprised. I had a maternal grandfather that died before I was born at age 60. Evidently he smoked and he probably had high cholesterol. They didn't even know what cholesterol was or measured it back in those days. So, but I attended cardiac rehab for 5 weeks, actually, here at Proctor. That was awesome. My main goal there was to learn what my heart was doing during exercise. And that was really helpful. The staff was awesome.
Well, good.
I'm just more tired, and the medication, some of the medication does make you short of breath. I have to be real careful. I can't just stand up real fast like a Energizer bunny and get going. I have to, kind of sit up, then stand up, then walk. It's something to get used to. But, like I said, I just realized there was probably symptoms that I just didn't put 2 and 2 together for the heart, because it is so different, I think, in women.
Well, thank you. We'll come back and ask you some more about that. Erica, you're next. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your story?
Hi, I'm Erica Wright. I live in Deer Creek, Illinois. We just moved here. We built a house. I'm married to my husband, Josh. We have 2 children, Adriana, who's 5, and Henry, who is 3. I was born with congenital heart disease. I had transposition of the great vessels. So when I was little, about under a year, I had a couple surgeries to kind of fix things. And then I had my major open heart surgery when I was 7, which was in 1995. And I had my valve replaced. I believe it was my aortic valve was replaced, or pulmonary, I can't remember. My valve replaced. And then in 2013, I had my last open heart surgery, my most recent open heart surgery in 2013. I ended up getting extremely sick over the summer of 2013 and ended up getting endocarditis, which is an infection in the blood, which is more common in those individuals either to drug use or to those with an artificial valve. And my surgery when I was 7 was with an artificial pulmonary valve. So that happened. So I was in the hospital at OSF for about 2 months. Wow. Trying to get my medication under control to try to get the infection and the disease and my fever to go down. While I was in the hospital, the infection broke off and ended up going into my lung, which damaged the valve, which then I needed a new valve. So in October of 2013, I ended up having my most recent open heart surgery to replace the valve that was damaged due to the endocarditis. So after that was in 2013, 2014, I got married to my husband. 2015, I had my first daughter. And then in 2017, I had my son. So it's kind of really quick.
That is. And it's amazing how the technology has allowed you, as you know, back in the day, I'm sure that having children would never have been an option for people with heart
Yes.
problems. And now look, you've got 2 healthy children, and wow, that's amazing in today's world.
Yes.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Kayla, can you share with us your story and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Kayla Monicky. I'm a registered nurse. I have a husband of 11 years and I have a 3-year-old daughter. And I am a stroke survivor. January 11th of this year, I had worked all day and I came home, was getting ready for bed, had taken a shower. When I laid down in bed, I realized I had lost my whole left side.
Ooh.
So I took a couple minutes trying to convince myself that it wasn't a stroke. And then my husband called 911. So I live right up the street from St. Joseph's. And within about 15 minutes, I was in CT. From the time of onset of symptoms till CT was about 15 minutes. So I did. I had a right-sided CVA. It was fairly massive. They had wanted to do surgery. Decided that it would probably kill me if they did. So I received TPA within 2 hours of onset, and I was in St. Joe's for about 5 days, and I went to Chicago to inpatient rehab. I had to relearn how to walk again. I still don't have great use of my left hand, but it's slowly coming back. It's a lot of the fine motor issues.
Well, that's good. That's another good story. So if anybody can, you know, you just talked about, so your life seems to have definitely changed. All your lives have changed. We'll start with Stephanie. How does it change for like your family lifestyle, or did any input put on that, or impact? What has that done for you guys?
Yeah, so just to preface, so people who have the long QT syndrome actually, they typically discover it either by fainting, they could have a seizure, going into cardiac arrest, or sometimes it's just sudden death. So sometimes you hear about these young kids going to a water park and they go down a slide and at the end they're already gone. You can't diagnose long QT syndrome if you don't have a heartbeat. So they've done a lot of research around this, but a lot of kids, or you know, basically anybody who's had that situation, they've determined usually is probably because of long QT syndrome.
So you have to have an event before they can diagnose it?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so actually you can do an EKG and you're going to see your levels to see there's a range. So my kids, or Stella, has always been on the high side of that range. So we were actually really lucky to have found out about Stella's condition, because later that year, her grandpa was actually in the hospital for pancreatitis, and he had not been diagnosed at the time. And he was prescribed a pain medicine that was actually, if you have long QT syndrome, you should not have it because it slows down your heart even more. And so he actually coded 4 times in a 24-hour period. So
wow.
It was a very, very stressful situation. But after it happened the first time, I said to my mother-in-law, hey, you might want to say something to the doctor about Stella's condition. And sure enough, immediately they started flushing that medication out, because that's what it was. So I really feel like, you know, if we had not known about Stella's condition, we might not have Jim right now.
Oh.
So it's a hard thing to talk about, really. But anyway, once we got past the initial shock of it, we really are just super thankful for the doctors and how they handled everything, and how they helped us cope with all the changes. So, you know, at this point, Stella and Jim and my husband Jared, they all take their medication routinely. They just know it, you know. And Stella, she's 8 years old now, so she gets up at 7 a.m. She takes her medicine. She takes it right after dinner at night. And they have told us that she shouldn't be doing high adrenaline competitive sports in the future. And swimming is actually higher risk for long QT patients, because the lack of oxygen to your heart when you're swimming and you're overexerting yourself, that's a higher risk. So she's always got to have a buddy when she's swimming in the water. And that's fine. That's just part of our routine now. So
Right.
we've really adapted well.
Good. Awesome. Patty, what have you learned? It sounds like you've adjusted your lifestyle. You're still working out, but you've learned how to see some of the signs. What else have you gained from this, or can you tell the listeners about?
Well, as a dietitian, I've always been interested in eating healthy and tried to do so. I mean, I always counsel my patients on 80-20 rule. If 80% of the time you can eat pretty hard healthy, that's pretty good.
Good.
Allows for, some life too. I think just adjusting to the medications, that was probably the hardest thing, particularly the first month. I really was tired. I really was short of breath. I just, one of the things that I had to do was kind of negotiate with my providers about my leave extension. At first, I was only going to be allowed 2 weeks off, and I got it up to 3, which was really important. When I came back, it's very stressful environment, in all of our workplaces at this point
Right.
with COVID and everything. And, the first week I came back, I worked a lot of hours. It was pretty rough, but I have a lot of family support. And I just, I made it through. Like I said, I think cardiac rehab really helped, and then it kind of eased me back into, safe exercise and eventually, getting back to my normal, because I do body pump classes and cycling classes basically, and then walk on the treadmill or outside, that kind of thing. So I'd already been doing that about 5 times a week, some sort of exercise. Plus I try to walk a lot at work whenever I can.
So Erica, since you were born with this lovely condition, I'll say it that way, right? You don't know anything else. How did that affect you growing up, or did you have to make any changes to your lifestyle, or?
So I am the oldest of 5. So I was the first kid of my parents, and I had congenital heart disease. So after me, my mom, there's 4 others of us, and my mom had to go to all this extra testing, and when she was pregnant, to make sure that all the babies were healthy, and do an extra sonogram just to make sure that nobody else had my condition that I had, or other heart diseases. And all my 4 other siblings are perfectly healthy, which is great. Growing up, I couldn't run the mile. I couldn't do those extra strenuous exercises. My doctor did encourage me to walk and do like some of those activities outside, just not the very long running because of my oxygen to my lungs and all of that with my heart. When I had surgery when I was 7, the big one I remember, I had a lot of complications. I was in the operating room probably close to 22 to 24 hours. Wow. I had my cardiologist stay the night in the room across from me, in the room next to me actually, because he didn't want to go home, because if something bad were to happen, he wouldn't get here in time to save me. So
that's dedication.
Since I was on the operating table longer than anticipated, I had a lot of numbing on my back because the operating room is obviously very cold to keep the heart stabilized. I lost the ability to walk. I had to relearn how to walk because my legs were all numb, and I had to regain my muscle in my legs. So when I was 7 in 2nd grade, trying to learn how to walk again was very hard as a child, trying to get all of yourself, to be normal like everybody else. Overcame that. And then when I was in 2013, when I had my last surgery, it went better, which was good. But again, like I said, I got married and had kids, and that was a big struggle to talk with your cardiologist about, okay, I'm getting married. I need to know everything about my condition to tell my spouse, because I want them to be prepared for our marriage and what life is like. My cardiologist told me he wanted me to be done having kids by 30. So I got married at like 25. So I had a very small window to have kids. So I did all the testing, MRI, stress test, got approved to have my daughter. And then I got pregnant right away. My cardiologist wasn't super encouraging of having another kid. And then I surprised him by saying I was pregnant. I've learned, I think I'm done with 2. I don't think I want to scare my cardiologist anymore. But, it's just when you're pregnant, they say that if you have a congenital heart disease, that you have a 5% chance of your child having it. And to me, it was very scary, always, getting pregnant and wondering, until that 20-week scan is my child going to be okay? Is my child going to be healthy? Is there anything I can do differently? So, I mean, that was the hardest part, I think, for my husband and I, was doing those 20-week scans to just, pray that everything was okay. And luckily, both my kids are healthy and they haven't shown any symptoms. So we've been very blessed.
Well, good. Kayla, Patty kind of talked about signs and symptoms she may have seen coming up. Did you have any signs that, did you feel it coming on? You don't always, can you talk about that? And then how have you had to make any changes in your lifestyle right now?
Yeah, as far as any signs, throughout the day, I had been more tired than usual. I did have some pain in my right arm that was weird, but I thought maybe I just slept on it wrong. But no, up until I actually lost everything, I had no signs and symptoms. Once I did lose the feeling on the left side, I did have the facial droop, which I do have some residual drooping. And, obviously the loss of the left side. I had the headache on the right side. Besides that, though, there weren't any other signs. And as far as how it's changed my life, it's changed everything. I do have a 3-year-old, so learning how to walk again and function normal again wasn't an option.
Right.
To give up on that. I basically do everything by myself, with some of my husband's help, but
Good.
he has pushed me to do the majority of it myself so that I get back into that.
What kind of support have you received from outside as well on that? Your husband sounds like he's a strong man as well.
Yeah, when I was in therapy, I had my daycare lady actually took my daughter for the month that I was in therapy. My parents came and visit. It's just a lot of learning how to accept the new normal. So I guess it was just a lot of, it's more so emotional support in that situation. The physical stuff they couldn't really help with much, but.
Okay. Stephanie, so what would you like our listeners to know? What would, the takeaway of what to look for? I mean, when you're talking, my daughter's a swimmer, so listening to you talk about that, it's kind of scary for me to hear, but what can we take away from your story to look as, moms or aunts, whatever, that we can look for signs and symptoms of our children?
Yeah, so I have encouraged all of our family and friends to go through the CPR training. We've gone through it multiple times actually now at this point. And so if just education, people just need to know that whether you have a risk in your family or not, somebody around you could have a risk and you need to just know how to react. I did not. I was completely useless that day, I got to tell you. And to watch your daughter go through that, you feel a need to know everything about how to help in the future. So I can't tell you how incredible I feel about the doctors at OSF. They were so helpful, answered all of our questions, took hours with us. It was, a pretty crazy situation. It took one overnight stay for you to just completely absorb all of this information, and then you're an expert, or you think you are. But I couldn't have done that without the doctors and their help with that. I really support the AHA in all of their research because, 30 years ago, whenever my husband had his 2 episodes, they didn't diagnose it because they didn't know it was even a thing at that point. So the research that we support has really advanced medicine to a point where we actually know what this is and we know what the signs and symptoms are. So I just want the listeners out there to know that just support the American Heart Association and their research and really help advance the medicine that they do research on. So,
well, thank you. Patty, what about you? What do you want the listeners to take away from your experience?
I think similar. I mean, I think the American Heart Association is definitely, had leadership in this area. Just the situation with my mother and her not surviving her situation, and the fact that I think in this day and age with all the technology and the abilities that we have now, I'm just grateful to have my life. I mean, I could have died that night. If I had fallen asleep, I may not have woken up. And, it's just kind of scary to to think of that. And my daughter had said to me, you better not die on my birthday. My grandma died on my 7th birthday. So, you know, it was just pretty scary. But again, I'm very grateful, you know, for the research, and really would encourage people to, you know, to contribute to the cause, because, you know, it's the leading cause of death in women,
Right.
heart disease. And I just think it's still not recognized, you know, like it should be, or paid attention to like it should be. And, you know, just if you have symptoms, you know, check it out. It's hard to discern as a female. I mean, I even had a situation where 2 days after I was discharged, I had chest pain again after feeling fine the first, you know, afternoon and evening, and middle of the day I was home, but then came back in and ended up with another heart cath just to make sure that the stent was okay.
Right.
It was, and I think it was just, you know, due to some inflammation of the area around the heart, you know, from what had happened, is what I think they decided. But again, I wanted to check it out, and, you know, I'm much more mindful of what's going on in my body. I think women are in general anyway, more mindful of their bodies, but
Right.
still just, you know, knowing what's not right and acting on it.
It reminds me of the know your signs. So, and know your numbers, that we do need to know those as, for ourselves, protect ourselves, and also to educate our loved ones about how, if something's off, to listen to me. So good advice. Erica, what can, yours is a unique situation, but what do you think we could take away from your story?
I want to piggyback off of what Stephanie said. I was born in the late 80s, and the medicine and the things that they were doing with surgeries with children with congenital heart disease really didn't start happening with these procedures that were saving lives, not until like the mid 80s. So I was very lucky to be born in the late 80s, where the procedures and the technologies were really coming together to make congenital heart patients live longer into adult congenital heart world like I am now. And in 2013, you know, when I had my open heart surgery, they prepared me in my body to now have, you know, not have open heart surgery again if I need a valve replaced. They can do it in a different way. And so that's amazing for me, knowing that I don't have to maybe go under and be in surgery for 20 hours to replace a valve, that I can do it differently in like a safer environment. And, you know, the AHA is so important in getting that research and getting those procedures and things to those doctors. And also that we're in the Peoria area, we are so blessed to have OSF St. Francis Medical Center and Unity Point all in one location. Like, we're very lucky to have that in this area. And if we didn't have the Children's Hospital in the area, I probably wouldn't have made it in the year I was born. So, I mean, just that. And then know your body, know the symptoms. Don't be afraid to call your doctor if you're not feeling well, because, and I was afraid for a while, because you grow up thinking that it's going to be okay living in a delusional world, that you're going to be normal and healthy. And then I got really sick. And ever since then, if I feel anything, I call my doctor. If I have questions on anything, you just need to be very transparent with your doctor so that they can help you the best that they can. Because if they don't know that something's wrong, they can't help you. And, you know, this is our heart we're talking about. This isn't something that is going to fix itself. You know, maybe it's a different medication. Maybe it's the amount of the medication you're getting. Maybe doing the EKGs or echoes, you know, just doing all those things to like help you be preventative and to live a long life. I mean, that's just what I really think we just need to be, you know, really thankful for.
We are lucky. Kayla, what about you? What would you like us to take away from your story?
I think my biggest thing is know your family history. I was 31 when I had my stroke, and then I found out that my paternal grandmother was 32 when she had hers. So I think it's just make sure you know your family history.
Right. That is true, because when we're young, we all think we're invincible. So that, and to not know that that had happened, especially with the technology. I do have to say, it is, we are lucky the American Heart Association does the research, everything that they give us, and they're advocating for each and every one of us out there. So does anybody have any closing words or last minute things you want to make sure everybody hears from you?
I'll just say we've got the silent auction going, so please
Oh, that's
support
true. Yes.
and yeah, and have a great day.
Well, thank you everybody for taking the time out of your day to do this, and have a wonderful and blessed day.
Thank you for having us.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.